live on the Zoom. Because it's recorded, so.
Are you sending another invite, Frank?
Do I need to? Yeah. Well, do I need to send them one to Colleen?
Yeah, she just asked if you're sending another invite.
Okay.
Chief Fisher's on.
I'm on, guys.
Great. Good to hear from you, Rick.
Okay, I just sent another one. We're live right now.
Thank you.
Not to YouTube. So, no.
You're getting pretty good at it.
That just turns out, still Colleen yet.
Colleen will get better at this in a couple weeks. It'll be good. I tried to go in that match my shirt, you know, but hospital patients took all the dark blue ones. Yeah.
Are you going to leave that on the whole meeting?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
It is a good look on you.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
I think
Covering
that's
half the
right
face.
Yeah.
It might do us all some good.
That's right.
Yeah.
I might have to.
I suppose if you don't laugh, you'll cry,
That's
right?
right. You can't laugh
I
at
got
yourself.
mine on, John.
Oh, do you, Rick?
No. Colleen, thumbs up.
I'm here.
Okay, Colleen's in.
Perfect.
All right, we got everybody. Jen, are you ready?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Meeting is called to order. This is a town council public meeting for May 5th, 2020. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Here,
Foreman,
Present.
Ralph Miller,
Present.
Colleen Shubin,
Oh, now I got it. Oh, thanks. Shit. Turn that down.
Richard Sharp,
Here.
Julia Rivera. Here. Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
I am present. Jill Mer. Present. David Austin.
We have a quorum. Before we start tonight's meeting, I will read a brief announcement. In accordance with the governor's executive order relating to COVID-19, in-person attendance of tonight's town council meeting will be limited. We have arranged a live stream of the meeting so those interested can view it from home. The meeting is slated to start at 7 p.m. You can view the meeting via our website at cedarlakein.org/view-town-meetings/. Then click on View Broadcast under the live broadcast. You must join the meeting through the link to participate during public comment. You can raise your hand on Zoom to participate in public comment. Due to the unique nature of this meeting, the town of Cedar Lake will only accept public comment submitted electronically. If you have a question or comment about an item on the agenda, please submit using the Zoom link. Our town administrator will ensure that all submissions are shared with the elected officials and that your public comment is heard. Please keep your comments civil and constructive to the policy and issues on the agenda. So we'll start with public comment. This is on agenda items. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Anybody raising their hand, Jill?
No.
Okay. Okay. Public comment is closed at this time. There'll be another public comment at the end of the meeting if you have anything on your mind. Our consent agenda tonight is the minutes of the April 21, 2020 meeting, as well as claims, which are all town funds $231,091.36. Wastewater operating, $71,178.25. Water utility of $62,621.17. Stormwater, $24,171.22. And payroll for 4/30/2020 and 5/1/2020, $184,386.21. Is there a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
It's a motion by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
yes,
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
yes,
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes. Motion carries 6-1. We're going to add an agenda item. This agenda item will be for consideration of the recommendation of the Police Commission of a new hire of a police officer. So, Chief Fisher, I would turn it over to you to introduce this agenda item, please.
Sorry about that, having a little computer difficulty. Council President and council members, I have a letter that you have in front of you from the Cedar Lake Metropolitan Police Commission. Says, "Dear Mr. Niemeyer, the following individual has been recommended for your consideration by the Metropolitan Police Department as well as the Board of Metropolitan Police Commissioners to become and be added to the ranks of Cedar Lake Metropolitan Police Department as a probationary officer, Sean E. Meyer. This recommendation has been approved by the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Metropolitan Police Commissions by an affirmative vote of 3 in favor and none against during a public meeting held on the 22nd day of April 2020. Respectfully, Lester C. Caper, Chairman, Cedar Lake Metropolitan Police Commission." So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I appreciate you've heard the introduction of the agenda item. Is there a motion by council on the recommendation of the Police Commission?
I'd like to make a recommendation on the
Motion?
motion on the recommendation of the Police Commission for this new hire that they voted 3 in favor of and 0 against.
The motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
I'll second,
The second by Ms. Scheeben. Are there questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, question. Officer Fisher, or Chief Fisher.
Yes, sir.
Is this guy going to have to go through training, or is he already certified with training?
He is certified in everything we need with the exception of our field training, which he'll go through with one of our FTOs. So once we get him in uniform, get him sworn in, he'll be on the road training within the department right away.
You don't know what time frame that is?
On the average, our training time is 12 weeks, but is usually abbreviated when they have police experience, as Sean does, being a police officer for the last 5 years and having the experience of the Spillman and all the programs in which we already utilize. I anticipate it'll be 8 to 10 weeks.
All right.
And Mr. Fisher, this is not a new position, correct? This is a position being filled by vacancy.
Yes, that is correct. It is just a position being filled from a vacation when I was promoted to chief.
Okay. After Bob's questions, my motion remains.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Any other questions or discussion? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
yes,
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
yes,
Randy Niemeyer.
No, motion carries 6-1. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Ordinances and resolutions. Item 1 was ordinance 1352, which is the emergency response billing. This was deferred from May 19th. We've kept it on the agenda. Mr. Austin, could you provide an update report on discussions about that ordinance?
Is he talking? I can't hear a thing he's saying.
You need to have a voice that projects more.
Is he at the microphone?
I do.
I can't hear him.
He's moving to the podium, Bob.
All right, thank you.
We had an incredibly good meeting yesterday and are reviewing this, developing an ordinance for establishment of a fee that's legal, valid, constitutional. A lot of other things came out of that discussion. It was a very substantive meeting. You're going to be seeing introductions of false alarm ordinance, repeal of longstanding code provisions that we identified through the course of that review meeting. Actually, you're going to get a lot more than one. You're going to get more cleanup and effective legislation to consider. I'm not certain it'll be done in 2 weeks. And when I share with you on the executive session listing I have, you'll know why. But we're working on it. We've got a game plan and we're going forward. I think Chief's on board. I think Jill's on board, and we're
Great.
moving forward. So that's the story with this.
Thank you.
Do you have a microphone, Jill? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. And then Chief Wilkening, when Jill's done, I'll turn to you.
To add, one of the items we're looking at is real spills, which will also tie it into the weed and noxious growth ordinance. The draft was presented.
Jill, you know, one thing I learned with microphone 101 was hold the microphone up towards the top instead of at the bottom. There you go. Now speak into it. I'm just saying. That was what I learned in choir when I sang my first solo. Is you hold it
Obviously,
up.
choir. But one of the things David and I have been working on since last fall was the weed and
It
noxious growth
Much
ordinance.
better.
I'm telling you, it works.
We've reviewed that internally and we anticipate having that draft for their consideration next meeting. And then there'll be other items that will come after that. So there's going to be some rolling out timelines here.
Good.
So just wanted to report that back.
Sounds like it was very productive. Chief Wilkening, any comments?
Yeah, it was a good meeting. It will clean up some other stuff that needs to be cleaned up from some old stuff that Dave did years and years and years and years ago that will help us all around. I don't want the weed ordinance to get in the way with getting this thing rolling, but it's good. It was a good meeting. It really was. He's going to be able to clean it up enough to where it's going to last us a long time. So I'm good with it.
I'm glad we made progress. Thank you all for working together. So,
Yep.
given that there's nothing prepared, is there a council motion to defer this item?
I'll make a motion to defer.
Motion to defer?
I'll second.
It's a second by Mr. Miller. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Cuban,
Yes.
Chris Sharp,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Item is deferred. Work will continue. Next item is again another item that is not prepared yet, but I wanted to keep it in the forefront. Ordinance number 1353 is the Public Safety Board establishment. Mr. Austin's, any thoughts or communications on that? Okay. So I got a question from the Hanover Township trustee about the makeup of that public safety board. Would you step up to the mic since I'm asking this question? And that question was whether or not it would be permissible by statute or advisable to possibly have a member of the unincorporated area serve on this public safety board as it relates to fire. I told him I would pose the question and in fairness, and I didn't know what the statute allows or doesn't allow, so I'll turn that over to you.
The statute does not talk about that, and particularly given that it is extra jurisdictional to town government, town municipal boundaries, town services. The statute clearly talks about town.
Right.
It does not go beyond that.
Okay.
So
I respect Mr. Toth's question.
yeah,
That-
it's-
That's an interesting
and-
question, but
and
we are.
I
the
told him
town.
I would relay
it
it.
is a fair question.
Right.
But we are constrained by our legal parameters,
Hmm.
if you will.
Okay.
I will look at that question though, as I'm continuing to work on this ordinance. And I'll talk with you more about that next time we talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, it was a valid question. I thought it was valid. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yep. Our trustee's been a good partner. Any other things to report on 1353 other than you're working on it? Okay. There's nothing to vote on tonight. Is there a motion to defer this item?
I would make a motion to defer ordinance 1353.
Thank you. There's a motion to defer.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnick,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. New business, we have item 1 is Stormwater Contractor. I will turn this over to the town administrator. He's approaching the microphone now and going to hold it properly.
Council, in 2015, you approved a list of contractors for stormwater on-call services. We solicited rate sheets from 7 contractors, of which 4 were responsive. This is updating that list. We would like to continue with the stormwater contractors for on-call services. The 4 that were responsive were B&D Sewer, Metro Excavating, PGX, and Zeiss and Sons.
Okay,
This item was also, I reviewed this with David before we presented it to you. This is a continuation of those services and updating their rates.
I believe that policy was adopted, 2000?
15.
Yeah, I'd say 14 or 15.
Mhm.
Okay,
And one of the reasons why we adopted it was because we were putting too much burden on the street department, or it was too massive for them to do. So we went out in this direction, which I think is a good direction to go.
Correct, Bob. I think you're right.
yep. So the town administrator read off a list of approved stormwater contractors. Is there a motion to approve the list as recommended?
I would
So
follow.
moved.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan. Was that you, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Foreman. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Tim, how is that list kind of gone through? Is there a number 1? Is there a number 4? How does it go through it? So what Tim is saying is its availability and kind of scope of the job. That's how that's chosen. Okay. Okay. And their rates are similar? So the rates, the biggest difference in rates was within $5. So we got all similar contractors, so that's good. Thanks, Tim.
And I believe if the first one's not available, they go to the next one and so on down the list.
Correct, Bob. Thank you. Item 2, we have Summerfest. We have Gordon Dixon from Summerfest here with us tonight. Gordon, if you could step to the podium. I know you know how to handle a microphone.
I do, and I also talk loud enough not to have to handle it.
Go ahead.
What
Floor
we're-
is yours.
Okay, what we're requesting, well, first of all, tonight we are formally announcing that we are postponing Cedar Lake Summerfest. We cannot run this with social distancing. We've talked to the chamber. We had a long and very difficult meeting to come to this decision. We don't want to cancel it, but there is no other way around it. And also Governor Holcomb announced that There isn't to be any types of fairs or festivals
Until after the 4th.
until after the 4th, which would mean that if we did run it, we would only have 2 nights, and we can't run a 2-night festival. That we can't make any money. Our vendors can't make any money. Because of this, we came to this decision at our last meeting, which was about a week ago, and we waited until today to make this announcement so that we could try to get some things arranged. I've discussed with Randy, Mr. Niemeyer, and
You can call me Randy. It's fine.
oh, sorry,
Yeah, we're good.
I don't know how formal I got to be.
We're good.
Anyways, I discussed it with Randy, and I let Bob know, and you all should have gotten some emails from me on this. What we're asking for is not a new contract for next year, but an extension, which means that all we would really need to do is change the dates of the event and the fireworks. And the reason why we're asking for an extension is because we thought, in all fairness, before we made an announcement publicly, we would talk to our vendors and our carnival and our entertainment and things like that, let them know what was going on. We didn't want them to hear it firsthand from a newspaper or a radio or something. We try to be more hands-on and involved with all of our people. And so as soon as we started talking to some of those, we started seeing that there was a problem. And the problem is that a lot of them, especially our bigger, like our carnival and things like that, are worried that if we wait to get a new contract and you know, we're not going to have this year, that'll be the end of it. And so they're hesitant to want to contract with us right now. We also have some other issues. Another reason why we need to make this announcement right away is because, you know, as everyone, we only have a limited amount of money. And if we didn't come to a decision by now, that we had a chance of losing a lot of money. Our fireworks, without a decision, and if we would cancel at a later date, we would lose $10,000. And $10,000 might not be a huge chunk of cash to some people, but to us, that's a lot of money since we raise all that money through sponsorships and our vendors and everything. So basically what we're asking for is simply an extension. Jill, I sent those dates and everything to you. I don't know if you've done anything, but.
There's always some comic relief in these Zoom meetings, I'm telling you. This is great stuff.
Anyway, so we held another meeting to verify the dates and all that we wanted to, that we would have it. It would be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That would be Friday through Monday. Monday the 5th, the reason why that is because the 4th is on Sunday, so the 5th is the day that most people would have off for the holiday. And the fireworks would be the 2nd and the 3rd.
And Gordon, in the email I'd asked, hey, is there a chance you could do fireworks one night? Because I know the last chief of police said, hey, you know, it's a lot of strain on his department and also the fire department. And you had come back with what, the contracts for 2 nights?
Yes, we are currently under a 2-night contract with Melrose that we cannot break. If we break that contract, we lose $10,000. So
and it's one
and
more
that
year.
and that was his response to you, John, in the email we sent.
Yeah. Yep.
And if we wanted to try to change that in the future, after next year's, we could start discussing that. I can tell you, though, something to think about at this point is we kind of need those 2 nights of fireworks, the money that we make on those 2 nights with all the parking and everything, because nothing draws like the fireworks.
Right.
Nothing. Not unless we spent a lot of more money on some serious entertainment, like a nationally touring act or something, and which we can't afford. So the reason why we've always done 2 nights of fireworks is because we need the income from the 2 nights, those 2 nights in particular. That isn't to say that we aren't willing to discuss a change, but for the time being, we have to go with the contract that we have.
Yeah.
And I agree with Gordon. I mean, having worked in a fair for quite a long time, those sorts of, you have nights where it's just, the carnival counts on a night like that with that sort of traffic. The vendors count on it. The organization counts on. I know it's a pain in the rear end with traffic, but it's a few nights a year, you know? So having 2 nights of fireworks to me makes sense from a business standpoint of why you do it. I get totally why you do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
two out of 4 or 5 nights.
It's the
you know,
same reason
depending
Lake
on
County
the year.
Fair has 3 days of demolition derby, because
Yeah.
people show up.
People show up. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's just the way it is.
Yeah. So, but that's why that is. For at least for the next year, for sure, we have to do the 2 nights.
So we don't have an updated resolution at this point that would allow us to necessarily do an extension tonight. But what we could ask for is a clear direction on the extension. Gordon has something to go back with of a public meeting action that we are agreeing to direct the extension be formulated. And then we can, at the hopefully the next meeting or shortly thereafter, have something to vote on.
If I'm not trying to be pushy, but if we could have something by the next meeting, I can assure my people that are having a problem with this.
Well, I think you can assure people if we're doing something on public record
Yes.
to direct an extension be done, that's
Thank you.
pretty good
Yes.
assurance.
Okay.
This resolution needs to be replaced. It's
Right.
not dated correctly, it's not, that can be done.
Right, so that's the direction I want to give to the town attorney, is to replace the resolution.
What was
would
the conversation there?
So Dave said the resolution needs to be replaced, Bob.
Okay.
But he said that it can be easily done with the direction of the council.
All right.
Okay? So is there direction
Thank
for
you.
the town attorney to formulate a replacement resolution for the requested extension that Mr. Dixon has requested on behalf of Summerfest?
I'll make that motion to direct Mr. Austin to create a new resolution for Summerfest for next year.
It's a motion by Councilmember Rivera. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion?
Yeah, my only discussion point is, these guys work hard, represent, whether people know it or not, represent the town with their fest. And it is a individual private entity, nonprofit, of course. They do bring a lot of business in the town. A lot of the businesses get, something directly out of it. But we as a community, I think, need to realize that 95% of the people that come to your event thinks it's a town's event. So what do the taxpayers get out of the town's event? So I think, that's something we need some more dialogue in if you want to continue on beyond next year. I feel in good faith for a private public partnership. What is it? Because right now it feels, a little bit, as though the town's doing it. So somehow, if we could figure something out to benefit something more for the residents and the community and the town's budget or what have you, I think it's advantageous.
I agree, John.
John,
Yeah, what's up, Bob?
Summerfest was started by the town of Cedar Lake. Tom Dabberton, our town manager, ran it. And we continued to run it year after year until Mr. Austin said the town shouldn't be running it. We should create a committee to run it or have a park department run it. So we chose to have a committee run it. And it was suggested that we have 3 liaisons that would work with the Summerfest committee to make sure this thing ran good for our community. Because there have been times when restaurants used to come down and work the Summerfest and they had to quit doing it because their businesses were so busy during Summerfest that they would sometimes sell out of all the items they had in the restaurants. So it benefits the town by helping the businesses who in turn get the business from the people coming to Summerfest.
Fact. I'm good with that, Bob, but I just think that, there needs to be something more for the town in general to get directly out of it. That's all.
Well, I can assure you, John, I say it with my personal experience and in going to some Summerfest meetings over the years, events like this don't have a lot of margin. So when I worked at the Lake County Fair, any money that we made, like let's say we turned a $300,000 profit, every penny of it was sunk into the fairgrounds that the Agricultural Society didn't own, but the county owned. So the county benefited from it. And I know their organization has invested a good bit of money in electronic upgrades on the grounds that can be used for things like the symphony, for the farmers market. So we do get something out of it already. They're making a commitment every year when they make money to do some improvements to the area that benefits them, but also benefits us. So there are things that are in kind that are being donated.
Last year, we put the new electrical box in the front there. Not only was it an upgrade in the electric that could be used by anyone that you want to utilize the grounds, but it improved the safety of the grounds a great deal, because the old box, as it turned out, was not in compliance in any way, shape, or form. And we got that all fixed. And so that was all taken care of. And I don't have the exact figures on what that cost us, but that was.
I think it was $13,000.
You know, we've also paid for the stage, and we've paid to move the stage when we knew that we could make a better festival and a better place for people to come by giving a larger amount of ground in front of the stage. We've done that as well.
And you see where I'm going with it. I mean, I respect that. And so maybe the goal for next year's event is, our goal is to do this so we can do that. You know, that's all. Just so we have I think it's something to brainstorm. We have a year to think about it. That's all.
And I think that when Summerfest makes money, it gets reinvested. It'll be reinvested in the event to improve it. It'll be reinvested in the grounds to improve that.
Right.
I mean, it's all about next year.
And we also do invest in the town in small ways by sometimes giving scholarship money, by we purchasing signs for the food pantry. We do, put money back into the town in ways when we're asked to, or if we see in need, when we see a need.
Right.
And, just so that it can be said, this is a full-on nonprofit organization. No one makes any money that's on the board or that's on the festival committee. Right. No one draws one penny of salary or anything of that nature.
Mr. President.
They've also donated to the VIPs. And John, it would be like telling the farmers market, what good do you do for the taxpayers? That's no different than what you're saying to Summerfest.
Well, I'm just, before, I have never had this discussion with Chief Fisher. So Chief, go ahead.
Literally having traffic parked on the side of the road and causing some traffic jams. But the Summerfest committee has been really good to the police department. They donated and purchased a laptop for our VIPs, which is all volunteer. So I'm willing to work with them, whatever they need to do. I think it's a good event for our community. And I know that the public really enjoys it. So
fair enough. Thanks, Chief.
And with this consideration night, if it's a positive vote, which I think it will be, you can go to your vendors and say the direction's been given to formulate this extension. This shows broad support. Okay, so while we might not have the writing tonight, we'll get it in writing. We'll get all the language changed that we need changed. So then this is done and over with.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. Because if I can go back to them, that will make our lives a lot easier.
No, we appreciate what you do, Gordon, and the whole team there. Everybody works hard at it. People put a lot of hours in that people don't know about in those sorts of events. So keep up the good work, and we'll get through this crazy year that we're in, and hopefully next year it's the biggest Summerfest ever.
It will be our 40th.
Awesome. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Austin?
In the drafting of the extension or replacement resolution, probably and contract will probably draft language that addresses post-COVID insurance and there are other regulations don't know like how it is because you're not out of it.
So what Dave's saying in drafting it is that he'll address some of the post-COVID stuff, some of the questions and unknowns in variables, because we don't know how requirements of insurance and things like that will look next year.
Yeah, we can understand that because we're already looking at the contracts that we draft for our vendors.
Yeah,
and
none
all
of
that
us
kind
know.
Stuff. Yeah, nobody in the world could have ever guessed that something like this was going to happen and would have to be written into contracts.
Sure.
But our own future contracts will probably include some types of language in regards to events of that nature and how we can protect ourselves. And I'm sure the town wants to make sure that they're protected as well.
Because whether we like it or not, there's a whole fraternity of ambulance chasing lawyers out there that cannot wait to file lawsuits on this COVID thing. They can't wait. No, I said ambulance chasers. You're a municipal attorney, so that's all. Thanks, Gordon.
Okay.
Okay, we have had discussion, questions, and we have a motion and second on the floor. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes, and again, whatever you guys can do to help police fire out, continue to do it. I appreciate it.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
yes,
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it. Item 3 is operations during COVID-19 emergencies and all matters related. Town Administrator, if you'd care to speak on this.
We'll try this again. In front of you or emailed to you was an update on current situations in our public facilities, as well as a hopeful plan on reopening. In summary, continuing through all of the executive orders, town council, board, and commission meetings will be held at the normally scheduled date and time unless otherwise posted. We'll continue to hold these meetings in compliance with the governor's orders as well as open door law. We'll continue to live stream them, broadcast them through our website, through Zoom, allowing for that public participation. The public access and opportunity for public comment will be on each meeting agenda. Town hall meeting room access will follow the social distancing guidelines of no more than 10 people through May 10th. And on or after May 11th, no more than 25 people. Again, the social distancing requirements will continue to be followed. Our buildings will remain closed to the general public through May 17th. We're hopeful May 18th, in accordance with social distancing guidelines, that we could have a limit of 2 customers within the town hall, the utility clerk's office having one, in the building department having one. However, we are going to encourage a no contact, continue to do things electronically if we can. That could be amended based on if we see any spikes through the health department, through our public safety officers and their continued meetings with the health departments and other emergency responses. People will be buzzed in. It's not just going to be an open door type of situation. All surface areas will be cleaned in between customers. Again, encouraging people to make appointments. Same with the clerk's office, the utility bills, encouraging those other opportunities for making those payments. You approved a resolution on April 24th, waiving the late fees on utility billings for March, April, May, and June. And we will continue to follow those guidelines as well as on utility shutoffs as the governor so directs. Alarm permits, mail or drop box, dog tags. Again, we had that extended through May 29th on no raising of the fees. Meetings with town staff are going to be by appointment only, following social distance guidelines. We could possibly meet outside. Limit the amount of people, include masks. Masks will be provided for staff if they're meeting with someone, as well as those participants if they don't have one. Parks, the public parks are open for outdoor activities. Trying to meet those social distancing requirements. With it getting warmer out, the beach is going to be a little bit of a concern. Playgrounds will remain closed following the executive order through May 24th, and anticipating opening those and the public restrooms Memorial Day weekend of May 24th. Clubhouse and shelter rentals, again, holding off on those until July 1st, allowing those people who had events planned to reschedule. Following those social gatherings again and those dates in the governor's orders. However, the clubhouse has a limit, and maintaining that 50% capacity would put us at 86 versus the 100 in the governor's order. So keeping those smaller, allowing time in between cleanings, we may have to adjust some of the rental times. Instead of being 9 a.m., they may need to be a little bit later in the morning, and working with those people who have those rented. Staffing, clerical staff, slowly rolling them back in. We're starting to do that a little bit this week, where preparing for Plan Commission, BZA meetings, participating on the council meeting as far as the Zoom, making sure we know how to set those meetings up, have public participate, and we're doing a staff training and setting up the SOPs tomorrow night with the Plan Commission work session. Myself, Tammy, Sarah will be here at 7. However, we'll be participating in the office, so to limit that number of people in here. So getting those going in a little bit of a slow roll. We've installed some partitions between the cubicles and some tape on the floors, some no stop zones, et cetera, and continuing those efforts throughout the other departments. Primary election day on June 2nd. One of the items I'd like to include on your agenda for the next meeting is to open later on June 3rd to allow ample time to clean the facilities. June 30, also have a scheduled Plan Commission work session. So to get the building clean after the public is in here.
From what I understand, the Board of Elections is seeing 4 times as many absentee ballots as normal. So I don't know how many people will have cycle through, actually vote in person on election day. So
Wow.
they're really seeing
That's
an
a lot.
uptick. Yeah, they're hiring people, young kids left and right to process these absentee applications, absentee ballots, and work with early voting. So,
and also limiting town hall office areas that they're able to walk through while they're here. And items like that. One of the items in the executive order is parades as well as festivals. So no parades until July 4th, and all parades should go through the police department with the application process to
Fair enough.
follow town
Have you
code.
heard from the chamber? Are they doing a parade with no Summerfest?
Chamber never does the parade.
it's
Summerfest usually does the parade.
Oh, okay. So is
that's
chamber
all
going to do a
canceled.
parade, Bob?
Summerfest isn't happening, so there'll be no
You guys are the
parade.
Chamber, maybe you want to do one.
John, maybe you
No,
That's right.
no, they don't.
Also internally, we're working on a reopening guidance document that I will have the attorney review before we distribute to staff. So that's one of the documents. We're putting a couple of these pieces of the puzzle together as that order rolled out on Friday.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I also saw on Facebook that the Memorial Day parade here in town is canceled.
Yeah, there can be
I
no
don't know.
parades until July 4th,
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah, so that's canceled too.
Okay, thank you. Jill, anything else?
Just a recommendation to approve the changes we are making and trying to maintain everything in accordance with governor's orders. And if you would like anything a little stricter, please provide us the guidance on that.
No, I looked through it. I thought it looked fine to me.
You have a recommendation from the town administrator. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the town administrator's recommendation for operations during COVID-19 emergency and all matters related.
Motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion?
What about, got a message here. Jill didn't mention Tag Day and Public Works on the list.
Tag dates are on there, Bob. Will comply with the governor's stay-at-home executive orders and social distancing guidelines. Tag dates scheduled through May 23rd have been rescheduled.
Yep, it's
And
all
that-
on the sheet.
But Public Works, I guess, is having people come down there on Saturdays with like mattresses and stuff every Saturday.
Correct.
Tim
Well,
said yes. So it's just
And
not
that's
open to the public Monday through Friday.
Right, and that's from what hours?
What are hours?
9
Tim?
a.m. to 1 p.m.
9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Bob.
Okay.
Okay,
And
I
then who made
have
the
a comment.
Who ma-
Go ahead. Who's on?
Who made the motion in second?
John made the motion. Julie made the second, Bob.
All right, thank you.
So I have a comment. I want to thank the town administrator for putting together a plan that, unlike many communities that feel like they're God, is not playing that role. The governor gave orders, which the governor has authority to by a 2010 act of the state legislature. Mayors and others who have decided to make up all their own rules are actually acting unconstitutionally. I know that the governor gave some direction that local governments to take certain actions, but that's not spelled out in legislation. The Stafford Act is what empowered, which is a federal act, empowered the president to declare the emergency, which then gave the power to the governor to declare the emergency, which then puts in the hands of the state health department and local health departments to do that as well, which we have a Lake County Health Department. So these things in this list aren't above and beyond what was recommended by Governor Holcomb and his team. While I may vehemently disagree with some of those things that the governor came out with, this list here that Jill put forward is mirroring the executive order. So I appreciate that being done in that manner. We don't need to take any draconian steps or act like we can create some sort of legislation out of nothing. So I appreciate that. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. We have reports. Town council.
Yes. Are you going to talk about the roundabout?
We certainly will, Bob.
All right, because I have concerns about that.
Okay, we'll certainly talk about that. Any other council reports? I've got Council Affairs Committee and Public Safety, and I'll comment on both of those, and I'm sure Jill will as well. So under Council Affairs Committee, Ralph or Rick, would you like to start it off on the Council Affairs?
Well, I think we had a good meeting with Jill, Jennifer, Randy, Ralph, myself, and on the phone were Sue and Bob, I believe his name was. And they gave us a nice layout of what to expect for what's going on with this COVID thing as far as revenues and revenues lost maybe. And they're going to get us a lot more information, and we're going to get back with them. I believe it's May 27th or May 28th. Is it not, Randy?
May 28th.
Okay, yeah. And they're going to have more information. They're going to have a monthly cash flow for us. I think it's going to be very, very helpful in going through this.
Thank you, Rick. Ralph, you have anything to add?
They were also talking about a lot of the shortfalls that we've got coming up. And we're going to definitely have to be looking at some ways at looking at coming up with something to be able to fill those in. You know, I didn't realize that we were going to have that kind of shortfalls.
Right, so I circulated to the council the documents that were passed out, the draft documents, which was work from London Witty Group.
And I have a question. The last page I got that I printed, it didn't print the last column on the wastewater utility.
Let me pull up my email I sent here. Give me 1 second, Bob.
All right. All of the rest of them I could read, but the last one I couldn't read. The last
Okay.
column.
E3, Bob? Schedule E3?
Yeah, E3 is the last page I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, where's the E3? I don't see that. Is
Up
that
top.
in the upper right-hand
Top
corner?
right.
I can't see that. It says in the center caption, calculation of estimated wastewater utility impact.
So you didn't get the adjusted 2020 numbers?
Whatever's on the end there.
That's
that's
what's on the end, yeah.
Yeah, that's adjusted 2020 numbers. So for, what is that? The calculation of estimated revenue impact of the wastewater utility. The 2020 adjusted is 24,500 for January, February 31.5, March 115.5.
Could that last copy be resent?
It's all in one attachment, Bob.
Okay, well, I printed it and this one didn't print right.
Yeah, you might just need to look it up on your email then. and it'll show
All
up
right.
on your email. Just might have got cut off on the printer.
All right.
So, right, so I
Thank
sent
you.
these to the council to review because I wanted to have this discussion tonight. London Witty Group used some data that's been gathered by Department of Local Government Finance based on projected tax collection shortfalls. Town of Cedar Lake normally enjoys a tax collection rate of over 99.3%. 38% of those property taxpayers pay by escrow. So that 62% of people that don't pay by escrow with the current unemployment crisis that we face and financial crisis is where we were looking at trying to do the best we could to project some of those property tax collections as it impacts the general fund and CCD and some of the other things that are property tax generated. And we came up with some numbers that are just preliminary. General fund impact between the property tax collections and other miscellaneous revenues, the projection was a shortfall of $420,912. And so we go on down the list. We're not projecting any Lowit public safety or CEDAT shortfalls because those income tax numbers won't come in until next year, which would affect our 2022 budget. So we've got a little lag there, but that will hit at some point because people are making a lot less money right now. Going down into the utilities, again, this is a product of the COVID-19, and the town responded in the right way in waiving late fees, which means that our collections could go down. How much yet, we don't know because we're still tracking this data. So these were just kind of best available estimates. Obviously, casino gaming will drop because nobody's gambling right now. Nobody go to casinos.
That's gonna drop.
One of the biggest ones is the gasoline tax, which is MVH, local road and street.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's about a 2-month lag on that. So we got a 60-day delay on really getting data. But the fact that people aren't commuting to work means that, and we've seen it in the marketplace where oil went to negative $8 the one day. So these are things that impact what we do. Now, we discussed also with London Witty Group options. All right. We don't just throw the towel in and say, let's just give up and we're going to have to take the hatchet out. So what we discussed with them was legal uses of CCD outside of purchasing equipment, because the DLGF has given some guidance on that, and LWG was going to really be looking into that to make sure that, okay, if we cut down our equipment purchases, how can we utilize this money? It's cash balance. Yeah. Looking at what the Indiana Bond Bank is offering as far as borrowing. Now, we have sewer funds that we could borrow from, but we also have commitments of pretty large projects. So there might be something that's better off to inject cash at a low interest rate, spread it out over a longer period of time, and be able to kind of balance things throughout this dip. That's the Indiana Bond Bank. There was also, we have to consider what we do with TIF revenues. We have some revenues in there that are going to dip because of tax collections as well. But looking at some of the cash balances we have in the different revenue streams is something that we have LWG really looking to gather more consistent and in-depth data in order at the May 28th Council Affairs Committee meeting. We'll come back to the first June council meeting, which will be after the election, and be able to have kind of a strategy going into budget season, and also a strategy on how much cash we need to cut or how much we need to inject or how to inject it. So there's a lot to be discussed yet, so nobody should panic, but we've got to be thinking in the mode of we might have to fundamentally change a few things here to get past this. But I'm not going to give up yet on all of these different opportunities. Also, the governor announced in his recent announcement the $300 million that's going to be going to cities and towns, local government, based upon population. Now, I haven't heard what population criteria they're using, whether it's 2010 census, whether it's 2019 estimate, what that population number is, but that could free up several $100,000 for the town based on our population. So there's some things out there to research, a lot of information to gather still. So it's still early, but we wanted LWG to get us thinking, to get everybody engaged in this so that we're not sitting here in the fall and in the winter thinking about measures of austerity at that time.
Fair enough.
Any questions on that report?
Well, you mentioned the census, and we're not getting the kind of response that I anticipated. I sent everybody that email, and there are surrounding communities that are doing a better job than us.
Bob, it's not because of a lack of effort by you.
I know, but I got a call from people living in Cedar Lake Ministries property, and they told me that they've tried to call that toll-free number, and they get responses, "We'll call you back." So I called up Nicholas Elliott, and he said they've got some glitches, but they've extended this till August to get it completed. And it's supposed to go to the President of the United States by December 31st, and they may have to postpone sending it to them until April of 2021.
Bob, as soon as this quarantine's lifted and you can come out into the public, I'm looking forward to you to be shot out like a cannon. And
I'm already.
Yep.
I don't want us to lose money.
Yeah,
Even
none of us
Lowe's
know how
does
this is
better
all
than
going to be distributed right now, but we have our team working hard on looking at every single option that we can come up with as ways to close the projected cash flow shortfalls. We know we're going to see some kind of shortfall, but how it looks yet, nobody knows. It's a best guess based on data that's there. So we'll keep everybody updated and posted, and as I get documents, they'll be shared to everyone.
All right, thank you.
Item B was public safety. We had Julie, myself, Ralph, Chief Wilkening, Town Administrator Jill Murr, and our Clerk Treasurer Jen Sandberg. Julie, would you like to start?
Yes, we had a public safety meeting to discuss the fire department mainly, and trying to figure out ways to, especially with COVID cuts looming over us, ways to bring the fire department pay up, the chief's pay up. And in addition, we also discussed the hydrant fee and the ambulance billing. So we didn't really leave out of there with any hard conclusions, but we opened the dialogue.
Thanks. Ralph?
Yeah, and we had also talked about the ordinance that Dave's working on for us, and that will hopefully be able to generate some more money. And that money, that extra money that we're going to be generating, hopefully we can put that money directly to the fire department, for some of the expenses that they're having.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
so-
would just keep in mind that hopefully if everything goes good with that corner at JoJo's, maybe we could utilize some of that if we're able. That's the key word.
Yeah, I think that was actually, that property was the money spent was utilities.
I
So the
see.
money would go back into utilities, if I'm not mistaken.
We are researching old files that goes back,
Yeah, Jill said she's researching the old files.
so we'll have a report.
She'll have a report to us on what we can do with the money from the sale of the lot
Demolition.
that the town owned near Holy Name there on
That's
133rd.
be for the demolition costs you're saying.
Right. That was all utilities, I believe, but,
Yeah, David and I have been reviewing old files.
okay.
And
So,
I believe Kim, the street department, cleaned that up also.
yeah, that was all utility
Yeah,
money at
yeah.
that point. So, Public Safety Committee, Chief Todd, do you have anything to add to Julie and Ralph's report?
No, I mean, it was a good meeting. Just trying to get some things done. Just keep in mind that property, we did put the fire out there, just for your information.
Thank you.
And was there many times for fires and problems, okay? So I want first dibs on that for my guys. No, I mean, we're just working towards, the conclusion of this, or an answer to this thing. The shortfalls in the fire department are going to be twofold because of the years of loss of personnel. So we got to do something. We have to. So as long as we keep it on the forefront, there's nothing much else we can do. The fire territory, could help us dramatically if we had some partners to deal with. I know you guys have been having some discussions about that, but we really need to get that expedited and get it, try to get it done this year so it can start late next year. So hopefully we can do something there.
So tomorrow, Chief, I'm going to reach out to Mayor Uran and see if we can find some way to get a meeting together, whether it be, partial in person, partial Zoom, or all in person. I mean, there's basically 6 entities that right now have kind of kicked the tires on this thing. So I think that 6 of us could get together and social distance and have a meeting, at least get a dialogue going. So I'll reach out to Mayor Uran tomorrow, Chief, and try to get that conversation fired back up.
I do also have something under the fire department's report. So when it comes to that, I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks, Chief. I'll turn to you then. Yeah, Public Safety Committee, we didn't solve any major problems, but there was more in-depth discussion on the fire billing ordinance, as well as the looking into the hydrant fee as possible mechanisms for improved public safety funding. So a lot of options on the table. Mr. Austin, I know, is working diligently on a lot of details with that. So we look forward to some positive action items coming here very soon that will help to inject some revenue. And again, we are exploring all options to keep cash in this place to be as close to status quo as we possibly can. We have some great positive things with still building permits being pulled. So there's some positive things happening. But the sooner this economy gets back on track, the better it'll be for everyone. Town Attorney, any reports?
Executive session.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer?
Continuing to work with our financial consultants, waiting for those updated numbers to roll in. I did request from county a tax advance, but as we had discussed last week, trying to get a hold of somebody over there.
You want a
it's
tax
a little
advance?
So normally it'd take about 3 weeks to hear back from county and to receive our tax advance. So I'm hopeful that by the end of the month, but as of right now, it's wait and see, depending on what that tax advance looks like. I anticipate we may need to do a couple of small temp loans to a few of the funds in order to meet operating expenditures. And then as we move on, once we receive the June settlement and go and look at the upcoming debt service payments, we may need to continue with a couple temp loans. But as we have updated numbers, I will let you know.
Thank you.
A question.
Go ahead, Bob.
I haven't got a sewer bill yet.
I had sent out an email to you all last week. There were some technical issues with the meter reading equipment. So the billing department received meter reads a few days later than normal. So billing went out a few days later than normal. I anticipate you should be receiving utility bills, if not the end of this week, then the beginning of next week. But it's looking more like Thursday or Friday they should be received.
And I got your email. I just want you to announce about it.
Not a problem, Bob.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jen. Town Administrator. This is where we'll cover the roundabout, Bob.
Okay.
Council, on your roundabout project, there is currently a partial closure going on. We had decided to post it as a complete closure. However, we did not put out notice that we were going to do the closure prior to contractors starting work. Today, myself, Todd from American Structure Point, our project manager, Charlie Caper, Tim Kubiak, Council President Niemeyer participated in a conference call. One of the things we will be doing during the project is opening the roadway during the weekends. So every weekend that roadway will be open. We will open the roadway this week, Thursday after construction work ends, and reclose it Monday. The full closure is anticipated to start May 13th. They will be coming out and doing the milling and surfacing of the asphalt. During that time, there could be no traffic on there. We're anticipating a full closure for about 2 weeks.
Right.
However, we'll be opening up on the weekend. So
Good.
Memorial Day weekend open. We're looking at a construction end date, which includes preparing punch list items as well as completing those punch list items mid-June. Right now, weather
Good.
pending, we're at June 12th.
So before you host the parade, Bob, we're gonna have it open.
Well, a few other things, down at the chamber, they tore up all the water sprinkling system. And I want to keep that in front of everybody. And the guardrail going into the lake, that's got to be reattached. So I know, Jill, you said you had a punch list, and I just want the council to be aware of those 2 items.
And those 2 items we do have and are in constant communication with Todd, and those will be part of our punch list and walkthrough. One of the things I would like you to consider is when we do the walkthrough after substantial completion, would you like the street committee to participate in that walkthrough?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah,
My boss.
yeah.
And if
Yeah.
someone can't make it, perhaps we can substitute someone if you would like.
Yeah.
that'd
So
be
to have 3
fantastic.
of you
Maybe
do
we
that.
call it
and
a
once-
drive-through so we can make sure there's no dips.
So at this time, what we'll do is we'll utilize Facebook Code
Rick's
Red, our
gotta speak louder.
website, to notify people that that road closure will be occurring. Businesses will be open, and Cedar Lake Florist will be open for Mother's Day and be doing some hopeful outdoor sales. So,
Well, there's a lot of people been at the chamber building, so I think keeping it open on the weekend's a great idea.
Yeah, and it was I think it was kind of an animated conversation this morning. I
Okay.
was maybe a little animated.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say so. When I got the call from Charlie last night of Cedar Lake Florist about this problem to his business, you know, I think sometimes it's easy to forget that project really impacted probably Cedar Lake Florist more than anybody when it happened last year, because they lost a good portion of their Christmas sales because of it. And then the COVID thing means that they haven't done any proms. Charlie said last month they only did 4 funerals when they normally do 40 to 50.
Wow.
And they haven't done any weddings. So finding a way to resolve this was really important to me. It was important to Charlie. It was important to our staff, because this is a really important business to our community. They are known throughout Northwest Indiana. They've been voted the best of the year by the Times numerous times. And it's not because they're bad at what they do. They're really good at what they do. But like a lot of businesses like theirs that have been deemed non-essential, they're praying to make it. So we talk about these tax settlements, and people like the Cedar Lake Florist are taxpayers. And if they don't have revenue, how are they going to pay taxes, and how are we going to have the revenue to support our town? So I'm glad we were able to come to a resolution that works. Mr. Caper it was his idea, the resolution of he needs it open all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Everybody agreed to it. So hopefully he has robust sales on those 3 days. And I would encourage anybody on Zoom, spread the word, go there, buy some flowers this weekend. They're doing outdoor kind of a drive-up sale. So make sure that you're supporting your local businesses through this, like Cedar Lake Florist. We want them around for a long, long time to come. They're a great community member and a great family. So we're able to work something out, but I just encourage everybody to patronize them this weekend when they're having their sale.
And you sent an email out that you hadn't heard of this closure, and you asked all of us, and the way I learned about it was on Facebook.
Right, Bob. So I asked the question to the project manager from Structure Point of when that communication was given to our staff here. And he said Friday late afternoon. He confirmed what Jill said. And I then asked him, in all of my 3 million miles of travels, I've run into a lot of road closures. And I've never had one where, unless it's an emergency where there's been an accident or a water or sewer main break or a fire, I've never had one where there hasn't been at least some prior warning. where there's a road closed sign on or after a certain date. And in this case, that didn't happen. So I expressed my explicit displeasure with Todd, our project manager. And I hope that everybody remembers this when we go into new projects at some point with NDOT, that we have the right construction management firm on our team. Because I was concerned about this from the get-go. I made public record of it. And my concerns have unfortunately bared fruit. So hopefully everybody remembers these things. And when we go to new NDOT projects, we put together the right team that's on Cedar Lake's team.
Good.
Sounds good.
The other item to back up what you were saying on the Council Affairs Committee and Finances, one of the things with the resolution that you approved waiving those late fees is a report on the collection. So Jen will be preparing that for your next meeting, having just closed April 30th. We're still pulling those numbers together and with the billing going out to have those comparisons for you. So those will be ongoing.
Very good.
And that's all I have this evening.
I just want to congratulate you guys on the nice Lakeside Bulletin this month and recognizing the class of 2020. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked how you guys did it and all that good stuff. So good job.
That is also one of the items we'll be looking at as collections occur. On the Redevelopment Commission pays for that newsletter. So looking at the cash flow there, that might have to go to bi-monthly. It may have to go to online. People who want it printed, we could print out a copy. So we're looking at that as that was one of the things Jen and I actually discussed earlier today.
Yeah, we're going to make a lot of sausage over the next couple months.
So looking at all of those, sometimes what we think are smaller expenses add up to be a larger expense that we may have to do a little differently.
Thank you.
Why isn't there a Christopher B. Burke report? You didn't get one?
That was due to some of the timing of the end of the month and the agenda coming out. We will have that for you at your next meeting. And with the Plan Commission work session tomorrow, there'll be more meat to that. There were a lot of items still being reviewed by Don, and there wasn't enough update to make it a substantial report to you from the last meeting.
Okay.
Same with the building report. With us working intermittent, you would usually have that your first meeting of the month. It's just some of it tied with the timing and the weekend.
Bob, I could tell you that I did talk to Don, and a lot of the civil engineering has been completed in a couple of the subdivisions that we're looking at. So we should be having another meeting soon to be brought.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow we got a special meeting and Michelle sent us like some pre-stuff to look at. So maybe the meeting will go a little faster.
Correct.
Police Department.
Only few things that I have to notify you guys. First off, on the public safety meetings, are we all going to be involved in them or are we doing them individually? I wasn't aware that we were having a public safety meeting.
So the last one, Bill, was just kind of focused on the fire department. There might be times where we separate things out. It doesn't have to be everybody at once. Sometimes there's certain pressing issues that need a discussion and a report and a little more deep dive. So it was no slight to you. It was basically just, there was some discussion items, really that ordinance that we're considering needed to be vetted a little more and some of the ongoing issues. So if you feel you need a meeting or a dialogue at any time, Bill, reach out to Jill and we'll get one scheduled.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Or what about him being able to, whenever you have one, him and Todd both come, because Chief Fisher may have some ideas on something the fire department wants to do and may have input, and vice versa. Chief Wilkening may have ideas on something that Chief Fisher wants to do that may help each other.
No, that's a valid point, Bob. In this case, it was really kind of unique to what we'd put on the agenda for the ordinance. And we want these committees to kind of work in a way that if our department heads feel they need some extra discussion, and they can contact our town administrator and we can meet with either or both, whoever, it really pertains to. So Those are valid points, Bob, but in this case, it was geared towards that agenda item that we'd put on there about the ordinance and some of the ongoing fire department issues. But as I said to Chief Fisher, if there's anything that he feels needs some further council discussion and a deep dive from a policy standpoint, he can contact Jill anytime. Either of them can, and we can put together those meetings anytime and then give reports to the council.
The only other few things that I have with the 6-1 vote for Officer Meyer, we're going to start him on Monday, the 11th, and get him going for the police department. And we've been coordinating via email with Todd and the Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Hanover Community School Corporation, to do some type of a small parade with social distancing and following the governor's orders to honor those seniors. We're still working out the details, but we're going to try to participate and do something for those seniors, since their school year was cut short, and a lot of those, even athletes, missed out on a lot of stuff. So we're coordinating together with those people, and I know that the superintendent is really excited about it. So.
Good.
Those are great things you're doing, guys.
That's good.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Fire department.
Yeah, I have a few things. Just to piggyback on what Chief Fisher said in reference to the parades. We're stopping the birthday parades now because we're getting 6 and 8 requests a day, and we're unable to honor all of them. And
That could be a side business for the fire department, Todd.
yeah, our call volume is picking back up now, so we're starting to get back.
Dave's drafting an ordinance.
Yeah, we're starting to get back to where we were. I want to caution the businesses in Cedar Lake to, as they start to open back up with new restrictions based on social distancing and other issues, to not be making modifications to their businesses that are in violation of fire code. I was informed today, the bars are going to have a real issue. The bars that don't have seating for sit down for food, they're not going to be able to just suddenly add tables and chairs and have a sit down area, stuff like that. So they're going to have, there's the fire code still has to be followed and still has to be enforced. And if they have any issues, they need to contact us. We'll be glad to work with them to try to get them the capacity that they can get by code. But I've already had some complaints about some businesses in town that have already, current businesses that are open, that have modified their facilities to meet the social distancing rules, but in fact have violated fire code. I've had some discussions with some people and we were able to work it out. But as we start rolling these businesses back open, I want everybody to be mindful of the fire code as well. So please be careful, or if you have anybody has any questions, to contact us and we'll be glad to work with them.
Chief Wilkening, to piggyback on that too, just so you know, in the council, I drafted a letter to Diane Justice at the Chamber Building to help them with the community businesses to help open up and following the governor's guidelines and his strategies. So she received a letter on to kind of help explain it a little bit more for the businesses to start opening up. So
I did have a discussion with Diane about that, and I was hoping that, and I think she did put it in the flyer, but I've gotten some more information in the last couple of days on a few businesses that were planning on making modifications actually to their building. And I did talk to Tim Kubiak about one particular business. We're not going to mention any names. I don't want to put them out there. They're trying to survive, and I understand, and we want to do everything we possibly can to help them. But in the same token, we have to abide by the fire code.
Chief, on this agenda, we have item A is ambulance bid specifications.
Yeah, Dave or Mr. Austin has the bid spec. I did talk to him yesterday about it. He's going through it currently, so hopefully we'll have that thing prepared here pretty soon and ready to go out.
And again, in our discussions of the CCD, which would be a likely fund used for an ambulance purchase, as you evaluate all of your purchases that you make and put everything on the table and look at an ambulance compared to certain other vehicles, an ambulance is a rolling hospital. It is a number one priority. It's not one of those things that, yeah, let's just, maybe we can buy it a couple years from now.
Yeah.
Ambulances are those types of equipment that hold a very high priority, very high importance, because it's life or death. Not to say that police cars and other vehicles aren't important, but they're a little easier maintained than what an ambulance is. So there's a lot of consideration that'll have to be done as we move forward, but we need to keep this ambulance purchase moving forward in a prudent fashion.
Yeah, Dave assured me that he's working on it, so.
Yep.
And I'm sorry.
Dave's speaking, so I'll try to repeat him because he's refusing to stand up. So go ahead. Invitation of bidders has been prepared and it can go to the newspapers this week.
Very good.
Specs will go to Todd when he's done. That's good. Thank you. Hydrant fee / tax, Chief Wilkening.
We had a discussion in reference to that as well. Dave also had some issues with that. That's going to have to be explored even more deeply. We may not be able to do it based upon what we thought we were going to be able to do. So he's working on that as well, doing some more research, and I'm sure he'll be able to report to you.
I don't need to do any more research. Fire department can't have water money from our hydrants. Hydrants are within our water utility. They are collected for the utility. So it's outside the jurisdiction of.
So what I've seen in doing
your
some of my
legislative.
Google research is,
Really?
well, yeah, I have a Google machine.
Oh, I thought it was Facebook.
No, I'm not on Facebook, but looking up some ordinances of this sort of fee or tax, it's kind of an interesting labeling issue that I see. So people already pay a hydrant fee for a hydrant, but not everybody's connected to our water utility. So I think what this fee or tax, whatever you want to call it, is meant to do is to spread out the cost through all the residents of the community rather than just the water customers.
I respectfully disagree.
No, but I'm saying by reading some of the stuff that's been in other
No,
communities,
I understand.
that's what they have formulated.
But please recall and note on your record
Right.
that you bought the utilities that had those fees appended.
Mhm.
So we didn't have a chance to develop, petition for, or be awarded rates or fees for hydrant rental.
Right.
That would be in a list of things such as tap fees, system development charge fees, and our regular rates actually per 1,000 gallons.
But
which
from
is
what I
we're going
understood it to
through
be,
now.
it wasn't as much tied to the actual water utility as it was to the fact that, okay, so for a house that's not in the water utility jurisdiction, they still have to fill up out of a hydrant somewhere. But yet they're not being charged for that hydrant.
That's
For the
not-
water that the taxpayers that do use the water are paying. It makes sense.
Right. So, and I think that's where the labeling of this has been a little wrong in how we've been researching this. Because as I researched some of it, it's a very interesting,
It is. Because infrastructure costs, when the pumps go
Right.
bad on the water that's
go
coming
to the
from
water
these
utility
wells
customers.
are being,
But yet that
paid
still
for by
services
people
people
that
that aren't
drink
on
the
the water
water.
utility. So that's where
Yeah.
it becomes like a tax instead of a actual hydrant fee.
Well, again, I'm not certain I agree with you. I hear and
interesting.
say what you're saying, but I'll use my own home as an example. If I'm paying a fee, and I don't know this because I never look at the bill, it just gets a check and it goes. But if in fact there's a hydrant fee being charged to me, there's no hydrant in the vicinity.
But I don't think it's being
me
charged
and
to you
I don't think it is
No.
either.
because you're not on utility. That's the point of
So the
this.
utility customers who are actually being served would be proper recipients of that charge and invoice.
but when they go down
And that
to
would be it.
a,
It would be for the utility. It wouldn't be for any other use.
So you're saying the money
i.e.
would have to
cod
go
in
into the
fire
utility?
department. Yeah, absolutely. And in
Right, I
fact,
understand.
I've
Because it's
confirmed
their
that,
water.
and I've confirmed that by and through our financial advisor.
And that may be true, but if we have 2,000 customers on the water utility and 5,000 addresses, they're all being served by the hydrants being paid for by the 2,000 customers.
And Dave's point is all the money should therefore then go back into the water utility.
That's the legality of it. That's the legal, that's
It's
not the
interesting.
Dave, that's not the Dave of it. It's the
And
legality.
that's fine, but as we know, when we add revenue even to a utility and we can pay people in different distributions, which we can't do at the fire department, but if it can loosen up general fund money, that can then benefit something like the fire department.
It definitely has to be carefully
I get it.
construed. And if in fact there's a rate charge that differs in any way, shape, or form from what we are charging now in the manner and to the customer base that we're doing it, that's jurisdictional to the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission.
Right.
It's not home rule. It's not within our
Right.
jurisdiction here.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. I'm just saying, I'm just doing some reading and looking at this stuff of how it was applied. The application of it was where kind of the confusion comes in. And I can see where it's easy to kind of get confused by
We
this.
did talk about
it
this
is. It's an
yesterday.
interesting
actually.
subject.
Yeah, it is. Really
It's
interesting.
Really interesting.
We did talk
For another
about this a bit yesterday, not much, but a bit. And some of the confusion really isn't confusion. It is a new way of doing things because the fire department became our fire department
Right.
by merger acquisition. And there are different laws related to volunteer fire companies and their right of entitlement to certain fees, costs, opportunities, et cetera, than we have by having a municipal fire department. Not a lot, but there are some items. And this probably falls in the category, if studied further, would be in that category.
Right.
So
Fair enough.
anyway, it is.
I would agree.
interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate you looking into that. All right. Any other reports, Todd?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to public comment now. I'll turn to our town administrator for public comment.
Council, I received 2 emails, both from Kathy Broomhead. I will give copies of these to Jen to include in the minutes. One question, is the farmer's market going on for May 27th? Kelly and I will look at that, see if we can manage social distancing, manage the limit of 100 people with the ever-changing orders. However, I don't know if we can accomplish that. I know St. John has had their farmer's market this past
Yeah, I
weekend,
just had
so
a counter coming in, counter going out.
Kelly and I will be connecting on that. We'll probably report back to you at your next meeting. However, it is scheduled for May 27th, so if you
Yeah.
had any additional
That's good.
guidance. That was the first question. The second one is the fire department and police department going to be a public safety facility?
Well, I
As soon as someone someday wants to build one.
If somebody
We have
drops
money.
off several $1 million here at our doorstep, then I would say, yeah, at least 5 million at our doorstep, or more. If you ask the fire chief, it's probably closer to 10. But if somebody drops that off, Kathy, yeah, we'd be happy to consider building a public safety facility.
It would be great to work with the school to have that whole corner. That would be beautiful. Police and fire.
We have had discussion about this already, and there is a committee about doing a police and fire upgrade to a facility.
Right. We
gotta
appointed.
keep our focus on the future.
We appointed an ad hoc committee last year, kind of to discuss the public safety buildings. But it's one of those things that right now with what we're dealing with is probably not on the front burner. It's more of a, let's develop the future concept because there will be a brighter day.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because when Kathy emailed me once, I said, I think she lives in the township and she always
She
asks
lives in
questions in the
Brunswick.
town. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that
She comes to our
She
meetings.
must be moving to Cedar Lake, I bet.
No, I think
She
she's pretty happy in
frequently
Brunswick.
attends our meetings.
Yeah, she's at
Yeah,
our
she's always
meetings all the
here.
time.
Yeah. She lives in the township.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting.
On Zoom, we have no one raising their hand for public
Okay.
comment.
So if there's no further public comment, our next town council public meeting will be Tuesday, May 19th at 7. We will have a utility meeting prior to that at 6:30. So thank you for everyone attending tonight. Be safe, take care of each other, and let's get this baby rolling again. This meeting's.
And we're now going to try and get back into the executive session.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll close out this meeting. We'll let Frank work his magic. Thank you.